Hello, my friends. My name is Jack Descartes, and this is Sentinel Circle. Thank you for being here. We're going to go ahead and cut right into the article at hand today. It is titled, The Power of Saying No, 12 Lessons on Setting Boundaries. So the one thing I've noticed as I get more and more into this whole men's group thing is there's a lot of men out there, specifically younger men, who lack certain qualities that is important for a man. One of those qualities is confidence, which we've done a topic on confidence. But without confidence, there's this aspect where they become weak, spineless, a walking carpet. And we're going to go ahead and try to weave topics where we can teach men, specifically younger men, how to find that confidence, how to get their power back. So that way they can be stronger, they can be more resilient. We're going to first start with the most basic thing that I can think of, which is the power of no. No means boundaries are set. When you set a boundary, that is a liberation that nothing else can really match in a way. You know, I mean, we're going to do a story on it later. I know it's an older story, but there was this wannabe basic training or SEAL training, I should say, for like tech CEOs and stuff. And one of the goals was to teach these men how to stand up for themselves. And they were paying like, what was it, like $12,000 for a 3-day course to be bullied and hazed for 3 days. I promise you, I'm not going to charge you $12,000 just to scream in your face. But the point is you can spend all this money. You can do all these, whatever you want to call them, male enhancement courses or whatever. The strength has to come from within, mind, body, and spirit. If you don't make the changes on your own, I could sit here and talk all day to you and you're not going to do anything about it. So this is my contribution to that. And again, we'll have other topics similar to this going forward. So we've all felt guilty and anxiety, or pardon me, we're going to start that again. I went a little too fast. We've all felt the guilt and anxiety that comes from overcommitting and saying yes when we really wanted to say no. Whether due to pressure from others, difficulty setting boundaries, or problems prioritizing self-care. Many of us end up overloaded, overwhelmed, and stretched too thin. And yes, this happens to all men. Not so much older men because they have basically learned to say no, which I applaud them for that. But for younger men, especially those without fathers in the home, where, you know, having a strong male figure in the home is a mentorship that we don't have as much these days. So we need to bring that back. And it starts here, okay? In her book, The Power of Saying No, organizational psychologist Dr. Vanessa Patrick provides research-backed advice on the value of refusal and how to say no with grace and purpose. Through 15 key lessons, she empowers readers to set healthy boundaries and live a more focused, intentional, and fulfilling life. So, I'm just going to say this right now, and I will emphasize this again in final thoughts. No is a complete sentence. You don't have to justify anything. You can just say no. That being stated, it is so much infinitely harder to do it than to think about it. It takes practice. It takes an understanding. But saying no, having no in your vocabulary, is probably one of the most liberating things you can do for yourself as a man. We're going to continue. Lesson number 1. Saying no is a superpower. Patrick frames the ability to say no as a superpower that allows you to protect your time, energy, and well-being. Instead of a negative act, refusal becomes an empowering tool to direct your limited resources to what truly matters. Yes, this is true. Lesson number 2. No is a redirection, not a rejection. Rather than rejecting others, no allows you to redirect conversations and opportunities that don't align with your goals and priorities. Refusal provides clarity on your boundaries and value. Lesson number 3. Beware the yes monster. Ooh, scary. The yes monster. He's going to get you. He's in the closet, waiting for you, waiting to get you at any moment. We all face internal and external pressures that push us to overcommit. Patrick calls this the yes monster, a force that compels agreement against our better judgment. Learning to recognize and overcome this phenomena is key. And basically what it boils down to is fear, in my view. You're afraid to say no because you're afraid. There's always been that whole, you say no to invites a couple times and eventually you'll never get invites. And this is true. You have to learn to say yes every once in a while too. You can't just say no. But if you don't get those invites and they mattered to you in some capacity, well, then obviously you should have said yes at some point. But if those invites never mattered to you to begin with, then yes, say no. Don't say no, no, just say can't help you, okay? Same thing with, a friend comes and asks you for money. Say no. There's nothing wrong with saying no. All right. Lesson number 4, develop empowered refusal. Patrick's framework for saying no includes being assertive, respectful, and free of guilt or over-justification. This is key here. The assertive part, say no. No, don't say no. Say no with force. Use your diaphragm, for goodness sakes. Be assertive. Look the person in the eye. Say no. But be respectful. Don't say no. I'm not doing that. Say no. Okay? Tone of voice is part of respect. Okay? And don't be afraid of saying no. I know that when you say no, you feel like you let the person down, but the problem is you have to be your own advocate. Okay? If you say yes to everything else, you try to be a person that you think everybody else wants you to be, you lose yourself. And the important part is not to lose who you are. Okay? Don't ever, ever, ever lose who you are. You are you. You are you. There's only one you. Don't be a mirror for everybody else. Be your own person. Be your own man. Don't get the job that other people want you to get so that way you can get more money so they can bum more money off of you. Don't be that person. If you want the job, you get it. If you don't want the job, don't be afraid to not get that job. Forge your own path. That's what no helps you do. She provides examples of graceful refusal language to incorporate into your own empowered no's. If saying no is hard for you, sometimes being able to say no in other ways is more helpful. But at some point, you're going to have to learn to say no in a complete sentence. No. Not at this moment or any, don't leave the door open. You have to learn to say no. No is shutting the door, and you have to learn to shut the door. Otherwise, you're going to let the Wi-Fi out of the house. Don't do that. Don't let the Wi-Fi out of the house. Wi-Fi is expensive these days. I'm kidding. Lesson number 5. Know your no style. Not everyone says no the same way. Patrick outlines different refusal styles like empathetic, direct, and assertive no's. Recognize which align best with your personality so you can decline with confidence. And again, there's that key word there, confidence. Don't ever back away from your decision. Once you make your decision, stand with it. Stick by it. I struggle with coming up with a decision. It's very hard for me to come up with a decision. Making a decision is a skill in itself. But the one thing I actually do is once I make the decision, I stick with it, come hell or high water. That's part of confidence. That's part of self-respect and self-confidence. Lesson number 7. Suggest alternatives. When you say no, proposing alternative solutions reinforces goodwill and your desire to help, just within your limits. This builds relationships while protecting your boundaries. So, a good example of this is someone comes up to you and they want to bum money from you, right? Obviously, say no to that, but, say, well, if you help me with this project or whatever, I'll pay you. You could do that. Another good alternative is, let's say that someone wants you to store something in their house. They want to use your house as like a storage shed. You could say, well, no, I can't really do that, but, offer an alternative solution. You could do that. That's what this is saying. If you're struggling to say no, this could be a good baby step into learning to say no. But again, you have to learn to say no. You can't get away without saying no. All right, let's continue. Lesson number 8. Define your good for me zone. Patrick encourages establishing these personal guidelines for commitments that align deeply with your values and goals. Learn to recognize and prioritize opportunities in this optimal state. This is kind of like one of those things where it's if it aligns with what you're trying to do, then do it. Otherwise, say no. I don't think that this is a good lesson for this, but sure, why not? Lesson number 9. Create personal no policies. Establish guidelines on when and how to say no, tailored to your tendencies and needs. These preset boundaries make refusal easier at the moment. So, this will lead into another topic for a future date where we're going to talk about finding yourself. Like a good one for me, or a good one to kind of illustrate, is for me, I have a rather big fear of heights. It's not really heights, like I can get into a plane. It's more the fear of falling and getting hurt. So obviously I struggle with the confidence of being able, I'm 280 pounds. I can't lift myself up. If I'm dangling, I can't hold myself up like that. So I've told people in the past, like, I'm not going to do anything regarding heights, but I would like to do it at some point and get over that fear. But for me to do that, I have to lose weight. I got to lose a lot of weight, and for one, and two is I got to get the upper body strength back. I used to be able to have, I could lift myself when I was 180 pounds, do pull-ups that way, but 280 pounds, no, I can't do that right now. And that's, I was offered a chance to go rock climbing. I said, no, this is why, this is my concern. And the guy understood it, and he says, well, I did say to my friend, when I'm healthier, when I have strength, I would like to do it, because rock climbing, you got to have some serious muscles to do that. And we were talking about indoor rock climbing, not outdoor rock climbing, which even then I'm still like, okay. But that's Basically, now that I've established that boundary, he understands, and he doesn't ask me that. He does say, hey, how does this sound? Like, he comes up with ideas, and I said, that sounds great, But again, he and I both know that there is a boundary there. So number 10, or lesson 10, I should say, learn to say no to yourself. Beyond other people's requests, pay attention to when you overschedule yourself or fail to prioritize self-care. Practice declining commitments from your own internal yes monster. So a good example here in my case is I have to learn to, well, I shouldn't say I have to learn. I have to be able to say no to sweets. Those who know me know that I'm super into sweets. This is the main reason why I am fat, is because, you sit like a gallon of ice cream in front of me and it will be gone that night unless I learn to say, no, that's enough. But that also means knowing your limitations. I don't have ice cream in my house because I know if I eat ice cream, I'm going to eat the whole thing. When I do decide, okay, I should have an ice cream, I get a pint. I try to limit it to a pint, even though pints are more expensive. But again, it's hard. And the one thing I've started doing is I started associating sweets with smoking, and I don't smoke. So that's helped, but you have to learn to be able to say no to yourself. Being able to say no to yourself is probably one of the hardest things you'll ever do as a person, because you're basically fighting yourself. That requires discipline, and there's a lack of discipline in our society today. A lack of denying yourself the short-term feel-good for the long-term gain. It's very hard to do that. And there are certain people's cultures out there that don't understand that the way that we do here, right? And being a man means you have to say no to things, especially to yourself, and it's hard. I understand it, but you have to do it. Otherwise, it's not going to work out for you. Lesson number 11, embrace not yet. Rather than shutting doors permanently, Patrick suggests not yet, leaving opportunities open pending a better context or timing. This provides continuity while still establishing needed boundaries. And I'm 50-50 on this one myself because, again, that's kind of what I did with my rock climbing situation, which is I did say not yet in a way, but that was more because I want to do it. If it's something that you don't want to do, you have no interest in doing it, shut the door. Don't give anybody an in if that's what but if you're unsure, leave the door open. Okay. I think that's important. Nothing is worse than a shut door. And sometimes those doors are shut for us and we can't get in, but don't be afraid to shut a door. I guess really is the kind of whole point of this article is don't be afraid to shut a door. But if you really can't, then it's better to just, leave the door cracked open like what Not Yet does versus closed it fully. Lesson number 12, celebrate your no's. Finally, take pride in the positive impact your refusals have created, from reduced stress to deepened connections. Give yourself credit for the superpower of graceful no's. Conclusion. The power of saying no offers profound practical steps towards intentional living. I highly recommend reading Patrick's book for deeper insights into the value of refusal and strategies to put yourself in charge of your choices. Just make sure to clear room on your schedule first. Okay, so let's take a break. We'll read your comments and then we'll come to my final thoughts on this article. Okay? Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Hello, my friends. Jack Descartes here once again. Thank you for watching this video. We appreciate it. I just would like to take a few moments of your time. Right now, we are currently raising money to host a website. We have Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, as well as a Patreon in case you'd like to donate once or you'd like to give a continued donation. The donation on the Patreon is only $3 a month. Cash App, Venmo, and PayPal, you can donate however much you want. There is no obligation. I will continue to try to provide as much content for free as possible. Once the website is up, we will use that as a hub for all Sentinel Circle related activities, including local meetups, as well as online meetups, online discussions, and videos. So again, if you could go and donate to either Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, or Patreon, all the links are in the description. We appreciate everything you have done for us. And if you can't donate, we still ask that you like, subscribe, and share. All these activities do help even in the most insignificant ways. If you do donate, you will be immortalized in our videos and the website. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. Now back to our scheduled program. Thank you for coming back. I appreciate it. Okay, here's your comments. So first comment is from @1439315. It says, new subscriber. Well, thank you very much for subscribing. Thank you very much for joining the circle. Men watching out for other men. We appreciate it. We appreciate you, my friend. Seriously and respectfully, I love Waffle House because the waitress just states, "What can I get ya?" Whereas both Denny's and IHOP want to sell you drinks, desserts, entrees, and appetizers. Hey girls, I'm not here to hand you over $100. I am here for a cheap meal. I have a worthless degree in finance, a Bachelor of Business Administration. People would work if the currency was worth a chit. In other words, if you are not paying $25 an hour, get the heck out of here with a fake pretend wage that does not mean a living wage. First off, Waffle House is good. I don't care what anybody says, especially when you're there at 2 a.m. and it's no longer just dinner, but dinner and a show. Good Lord, my nose is itchy today. Anyways, I hear you with the degree, business administration. Yeah, that's kind of like, that was the very popular degree that people would go into if they would fail engineering in my school. And simply because of the math requirements. You know, you got math, and that's kind of like, well, business is better than an arts degree or whatever. So why not? Yeah, the currency is worthless, but this is worldwide. This is not just the U.S. And the fact that inflation is impacting a global scale shows that the whole system is about ready to topple. I'm sure that there's going to be a reckoning at some point. Let me explain it. I'm of two minds. One side of me thinks that this is all planned and the whole system is designed to fail. That's why they started it in 1971 the way they did it. The whole conspiracy aspect, because it seems like the only difference between conspiracy and fact is 6 months these days. That's one end of me. The other end of me is we had a bunch of people that had no idea the downward consequences or the downstream consequences of their actions, and they were just making decisions on a whim. It's the whole thing about how the first generation makes the wealth, the second generation they do something with the wealth. They maintain the wealth, and the third generation squanders the wealth. And I think that's kind of where we're at right now. Is we exploded in the early 1900s. Well, if you want to go even further, it was actually the 1940s, right? That's when we really exploded, right after the war. And then, of course, you had that period where we, stagnated, and then we're in the situation where we're in now. because again, this short-term decisions for short-term gain. Do I think we are hosed? Not quite yet. It is disgusting that, we have to pony up $100 if we want to go to like places like IHOP. Like IHOP, there was a time where you could go to IHOP and get something decent for $10. Now it's like $20 per person. It's just heinous. So we can go on and on and on about this. Again, 1439315. Good comment. I appreciate it. Thank you again for subscribing. You're appreciated. And please stop on by on our lives Thursday and say hello at the very least. I appreciate everybody who shows up. So again, thank you. Whoops. Did not go well. Densha Otoko 2. He said, just baby boomers making excuses to call youth lazy again. And this was under the video about the boomer myths that millennials and Gen Z had to deal with. And that wasn't my intention with the video. Is more, I myself am a millennial. I'm kind of like right smack dab in the middle, if not towards the older end. I was born in 1990. And I don't like how we were told certain things that are not true. And I'm sure when we were told, it was a truth somewhat. But the problem is let's say, for example, the college education, okay? When our parents were growing up, the senior management had a college degree, right? So they were working crud jobs, and they're like, okay, well, if you want to be that guy, the guy with the tie, you got to have a degree. And even my father has always said that, the guys on the work site that have the clean hard hats, those are the guys you want to be, because those are the guys making the real money. Well, as we've seen, we've oversaturated the market, and this is both the good and the bad of capitalism. Is, well, I shouldn't say capitalism, more of markets, is when you oversaturate a market, you bring everything down. Okay. And really, this is more of a rule of economics. We oversaturated the people having a degree. It's like, back in the good days, a person, the amount of people holding a college degree at that time was like, not even 20%, not even 10%. I don't know the numbers out, but it was fairly rare, Granted, I don't believe in the whole, you go to school simply because your parents went to that same school and your legacy and you're well taken care. No, you should be able to get into college based on your merit. Okay. But that being stated, this was not really a lie that our parents told us. It was a different time, different experience. A lot of people that I've spoken to who've had boomers that are getting back into the job market, they're blown away of how hard it is now. And it's not like they're calling us lazy because they think we're lazy. It's more, they think that their experience is our experience, and that's just not the case. And it's what it boils down to is self-centerism. There are a lot of people out there of many different generations in this case that their life experience is all they know. So therefore, like a good example of this is when you talk to people who've never had divorced parents, their experiences of it are completely different than parents or than people with divorced parents. Like the one popular saying in that situation was, and I've even heard this, was, dude, you get 2 Christmases, 2 birthdays, 2 everything. And meanwhile, I'm like, yeah, but it sucks the rest of the way around. And honestly, I didn't get 2 of everything. It was because of the distance. I still had one of everything, so I kind of washed out on that one. But either way, Densha Otaku or Otoko, this was a good comment, and again, I appreciate you being here. Thank you very much, and hopefully you've subscribed. So we're going to continue on. Frank Rizzo, it's good to see you, Frank. It says here, I rather pay for OnlyFans than dating apps. Imagine a dating app where you get 100 matches every single day. In each of these matches, want to pay for your dinner, pay for your vacation, and give you all the free intercourse you want. Oh my God, they created dating apps to trick all the women into the oldest profession in the world. I have heard stories about how women on OnlyFans, their experience is not as good as it's made out to be. I mean, obviously we hear stories about these women who they make bank on OnlyFans, but I don't want to sit here and defend women. That's not why I'm saying this. It's more just, again, we only hear the success stories. We don't hear the other stories, but even then, like, we talk about people like the woman that had relations with 100 men at the same time. She did it for her OnlyFans, and she's gonna have to live with that for the rest of her life. And I don't care what anybody says, that's gonna not be good. And of course, she's gonna struggle with having intimacy and all that stuff. I just hope it was worth it for her. I personally think that that's just one more nail in the coffin for society, but who am I to judge? I don't want to sit there and claim that I am the moral compass of society. He who throws stones in a glass house and all that. I'm not going to sit there and pretend that I'm a saint as well. But I personally would never do what Frank is doing. But hey, man, you keep doing you, and hopefully it brings you happiness in some way. That's all I care about, is you're good with what you are. You're comfortable with who you are. That's all that matters to me, my friend. And again, thank you for the comment. I appreciate it. Medimroy. He's I'm gonna try and put on my southern accent. Georgia, right next to let me try that again. Georgia, right above Florida, next to Bama. Her door opens outward, not inward. For context, this was about the Georgian man who was arrested for kicking down a woman's door, and then they found out that he was in a wheelchair and disabled, even though the police initially didn't believe him, which that was horrifying. Anyways, this is a good comment. Thank you very much. You made my day. I hope you know that you made Jack here laugh. So that hopefully that makes your day too. MGTOW Outlaw, much appreciated, brother. And this was under the post where I thanked him and everybody else for joining me on that live. I couldn't have done it without you guys. The live went very well. If you haven't had the chance to look at the live, I would strongly encourage you. It's kind of like this panel that we hold. I pick a topic. We don't have to talk about that topic. We can talk about anything. But I try and pick a topic that affects men. And it was really good. MGTOW did say that MGTOW Outlaw did say that he felt that he didn't contribute much in his stream on Friday, but I just want him to know that he did contribute quite a bit. And I do appreciate it. I appreciated everybody. It was Godfather, it was Dark Cell, MGTOW Outlaw, and then Batty Commander. All of them were good. Nick 4888 was in the chat, but he didn't want to talk, so I respected that. Didn't include him like that. I think he just wanted the private chat ability. But hey, you know what? we'll always find space for everybody. Okay. So again, I appreciate everybody for being there. It was a good chat. I enjoyed it quite a bit, and I'm looking forward to the next one. So we got that to look forward to. And that was the last comment. So we're going to go ahead into final thoughts. So the whole point of this, and I'm going to reiterate the whole point of it, which was I see an epidemic of a couple things. One is fatherless households, okay? And to me, a fatherless household sets a man up from the very beginning for failure. I myself lived with my mother until she got cancer, and then I moved in with my father. I am horrified to think about how my life would be different if I stayed with my mother. I do attribute my current status of being a man to my father. I do attribute a lot of it to life experience as well, but I do appreciate the work that my father did, although he did not do much. It was only recently in life when he started taking more of an interest in my life, which I really wish he would have taken a better interest, but so be it. But I do see constantly this and as I'm getting older and people in my generation are having kids, getting married, divorced, all that stuff, I'm seeing the next generation. And even when I worked for the school district in my town as a bus monitor, I saw the consequences there too. You know, you have these boys who are not well behaved. And when I say well behaved, they're hyperactive. They don't have like an internal regulator, all that stuff. The one thing I learned about that is they all had woman-dominated households. And in the case of the one kid who was super high, it was actually his grandmother that he was, because his mother wanted nothing to do with him too. He was just too out of control. And it's sad. It's very sad. These kids, they're good kids. They have a good head on their, but they're I don't want to say they're being led astray. They're not being led at all. You know, and that's what kills me more than anything else is, you know, we have all these kids for generations now that don't have fathers in the household. They don't have mentors in the workplace. They have nothing. You have the destruction of third spaces for men, hobbies for men, you know, places where men congregate and share amongst themselves. And we're missing all that as men. And I know that people have warned me over and over again that at some point they're going to come for me, and I'm expecting it. I'm not looking forward to that day. And, you know, should something happen to my channel, that's kind of why I'm building the website. So that way we have a place. We have a space where we can go to. You know, I'm trying to build a home for all men. You know, and if something were to happen to that website, well, I'll keep trying. I can't sit on the sidelines anymore. You know, I mean, I've seen what the foster care system looks like. I've seen what the school system looks like. I've seen all of these things. I've seen it firsthand. And it's a wonder we're in the position now that we're in. I'm not assigning blame to anyone. All I'm saying is at some point people have to start taking responsibility, whether we are responsible or not. You know, I'm a firm believer of be the change you want to be, and I'm trying to leave a positive impact on the world. I know that there have been a lot of people that have kind of rolled their eyes at me and all that stuff, but like, you know, what are you doing? You know, I mean, I'm not picking on anybody here. I just see this constant pity party online about, you know, how I'm struggling with this, I'm struggling with that. And it's like we all are going through it, but we don't have like an outlet. We don't have a place to just get it out there. And I mean, yeah, you have YouTube channels and all that stuff, but that only goes so far. You know, I really do firmly believe that men need to kind of, pardon the expression, get a set and do something about it. You know, I mean, we can sit here and complain about, you know, our lives sucking and society taking the wind out of our sails and all that stuff, or we can do something about it. You know, this is my form of doing something about it. I'm putting myself out there. I'm worried every single day that I'm going to get outed and I'm going to have to deal with the consequences of my actions, which fine. You know, I know that like at some point I'm going to be doxxed. You know, I know that at some point, you know, people are going to come in here and start messing with what I'm doing. Fine. That's fine. I know these things are. I sat here and for years thinking about the possible negatives in my life, and I realized that if I don't do something, who's going to do it? You know, who's going to teach these children that they need to stand up for themselves? You know, because the thing is if you and I don't do it, somebody else will, and we may not like that. You know, we're constantly talking about the feminism in schools and how you have these new men teaching our children in schools and all that stuff. Well, okay, that accounts for the school aspect, but what about the other 16 hours that they're not in school? Granted, yeah, they're sleeping 8 hours, but like, what about the times that they're not in class? We could have a real impact here. And this is the first step, my friends. This channel is the first step to reaching out to all these men who are lost, who are confused about themselves, who have no spine, who don't know any of these things. This is the first step in saying, hey, I've been there. I'm trying to show you the way. That's what Sentinel Circle is about, is men watching out for other men. Okay? I'm one man. I am one man with my own hopes, dreams, fears, demons. You all are one man. But together, we have strength that an individual does not have. That strength is what makes nations. That strength is what moves mountains. That strength is what builds canals, builds societies. You know, I mean, we talk about, you know, presidents and emperors and kings. What we don't talk about is the common man, because we don't remember the common man. You know, but without the common man, those emperors, those kings, those presidents, they're nothing. You know, and we're sitting here celebrating the accomplishments, however misguided they may be, of women, which, and don't get me wrong, there are women out there that have made accomplishments, and I'll never take that away from them. But there's a difference between a true accomplishment and being handed something. And that's what I'm seeing, is all these modern accomplishments are just handed to them. Whereas us men, we have to work harder now for the same thing. You know, at some point, society has made winners and losers. Whereas before, it was your own power and your own grit determined if you were a winner or a loser. You know, all I'm saying is take your power back. Start simple. Start with no. We will continue to work on taking our power back as men. And I'm not talking about power as in our status in society. I'm talking about the power within. We have to start within first before we can take on society. Okay? But let's start with ourselves first. Let's start making men how they should be, how they ought to be. Rather than this new male where they have zero spine, they have zero strength. Anyways, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. My name is Jack, and this is Sentinel Circle. And again, if you're not part of the circle, you can become a part of the circle. There's nothing about it. Just click the subscribe button. Join us. You'll find a brotherhood here, a strong brotherhood. There's men of all stripes of life here with us. We're looking out for each other. We could also help you. Anyways, have a great day. Thank you for being here. I appreciate everything all of you are doing. The numbers of the channel are looking good. Everything's looking good. I'm proud of what we are creating here. And together, we can make a better tomorrow for all of us. Have a good day.